Is this better? Is everything better now? Can you hear me? Is this better? Oh my god. Okay. Well, that started out just like every Friday should start, with a complete failure of the machine trying to do everything again it can to hate me. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. It's a Friday. That means day 576 of being in quarantine with my family, now my estranged family. And I don't know. I thought I'd write this third edition of the book. Instead of me going crazy, I'm just gonna write it in front of a bunch of people. So that we'll all go crazy together. A little bit about what this book is trying to do. It's the third edition, which means I'm writing the book with examples in JavaScript, because that's what people do these days. I don't know if there's actually going to be an audience when the book comes out. Everyone might be sick. But I'm going to finish it anyway, because, you should set goals and finish them. And I've been learning a lot just from trying to write this book. I'm currently in this set of examples. Let's see. Come on. Will it work? Come on. Okay. So the examples that I was giving and writing earlier, which was actually yesterday, were about, let's see. Oh, fake chains. Let's see. That's where we ended up yesterday. Let's break that into its own page. Okay. So, fake chains. Stubs that produce mocks or other stubs. It's quite common, unfortunately, to have API chains in code, and especially in JavaScript code. An API chain happens when you try to get to a function or an object through two or more functions or objects. For example, consider this production code that contains a basic API chain as chain. A function that returns a configuration object with a logger. By the way, if anyone has any questions, ask me in the chat. If you have any Anything that's not working, let me know in the chat and I'll try to fix it. If you want to follow along with the code is over here. So this is the link to the GitHub page. I'm going to put it right here. So you can follow along with all of the code examples. And this is currently the code example I will going to show. It's right here. Let's see. The modular. I was working on the modular examples. Let's see. Okay. What the hell? Why do I have a failing test here? But here it says that there are no failing tests. This is really weird. Let's run those tests again. If anyone has any questions about what the hell I'm doing here, what am I writing, what am I working on, or anything about unit testing or test-driven development, now is the time. Okay, I think that's better. Now, by the way, just as an aside, one of the things I really like about Wallaby.js, you can see here that this is green, but this line is gray. It means that I don't actually have a test that covers this line. That's because my demos are not actually covering those lines, because those lines are not the important stuff. The important stuff that I'm showing is the dependency injection, etc. Okay, let's go back to the book. For example, consider this production code that contains a basic API chain, a function that returns a configuration object with a logger. With a logger object. We'll make that into code in text. How is your Friday going, by the way? Is everyone stuck at home just like me? Does everyone just need to just not go crazy? Because I do. Let's see, for example, consider this protection code, blah, blah. Okay, so I have a simple logger, which we don't care about, and then I have a getConfig, which is a function, and that function returns an object. And that logger has a function called info. Maybe that's okay, because that's what I'm trying to show. For examples of code that uses this API chain, I'll show in the next listings. I'll show both functional and object-oriented examples, like I've done so far. We'll start with the functional designs first, and then move on to the object-oriented part. Now, any code that wants to... what does the production code that uses this API chain look like? Um, okay. So this is the usage. This is our password oh no, here I already put a test, but what I want to put here is the example that I wrote of fake chains. And oh, and here I had to decide what examples to start, because I have functional with curried functions, I have modular examples, and I have object-oriented. So I had to decide which one to start with. Let's start with the curried function. And this is really the offending lines. And we have API chain like this. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to copy this thing, and then I'm going to move into VS Code. Does anybody know why I'm moving to VS Code here? Can you guess? If I'm using WebStorm, why am I going to VS Code? 2 points. 2 free licenses to Jest for those who answer. The answer was, it has this functionality called copy with line numbers right here. That's the only reason. Let's go back into our this and say listing for dot whatever code that uses an API chain. We'll make that a listing format, and we'll paste this stuff here. Let me know if the music is too annoying. Let's take the name of the file as well. The name of the file is here. Okay, so we have file blah blah blah. We are requiring Lodash because that's what we are doing for the currying stuff. So we are using currying to enable this stuff. And here we are saying config-fn logger info passed. And again, so what does that give us? Well, what I'm trying to show here is that to be able to fake this, we're going to have to fake both this and this. That's our problem. Okay. I'm staring at the screen, and the screen is staring right back at me. That's what Fridays for me look like. I think that's reasonable. So, what does that mean? We'll go to body format and say notice how we now have to fake two distinct objects for if we want to prove that lines 09 and 12 work calling the logger correctly. Here's a cumbersome way of faking an API chain. Faking an API chain the cumbersome way. Okay. So in this example, I'm saying I have the password verifier, and here I'm saying, oh, this is our stub and our mock object. Hold on, my kids are calling me. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. My kids wanted me to tweet about something, so I did. Let's see. Just making sure that everything's working. Anyway, so at this point, what we have is a fake config, which is an object. That's our stub. And then we have a log. That's our mock object. And why is that a mock object? Because we're actually saving the value here. So if I say this, saving the mock value. Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong example. I'm testing verifier. Oh, okay, so object oriented. So what I have to do now, because I put the wrong example here, I'm gonna do a listing 4 point what? Faking an API chain with a curried dependency injection. Is that title annoying enough? And I have an example for that here. That's what occurred. Okay. Again, VS Code for the copying with line numbers. Going back here, pasting here. Why that music is annoying. And then formatting as code, and then going back and copying the file name. Okay. Verify with the curried config. Curried verifier. Fake with chain config and object. I'm just trying to make sure the lines don't actually break. חמוד. מה קורה? אני בדיוק באמצע הסטרימינג, משהו דחוף? Save the world? אתה רוצה להגיד שלום לסטרים? לא? Save the world?
כן, אני כבר חודשיים משחק פורטנייט.
רואים אותך שם. מה זה Save the World בפורטנייט?
זה שאתה נלחם עם כל האנשים האחרים נגד הזומבים.
זה עולה כסף? אני אבדוק את זה אחרי שאני אסיים פה, אוקיי?
נכון, אתה אמרת שתקנה לי איזשהו מוד אם אני אשחק חודש בפורטנייט.
לא עבר חודש.
עבר חודשיים.
באמת?
כן.
טוב, אז עוד מעט אני אסיים ואני אבוא לבדוק את זה. יאללה, ביי. אל תשכח לסגור את הדלת.
את המחשב.
אל תשכח לסגור את הדלת. נכון, אתה לא אמור להיכנס עכשיו. אוקיי, אבל עכשיו אני באמצע משהו, נדבר על זה אחרי זה. סגור את הדלת עד הסוף? אוקיי. Yep. This is the way it works. Anyway. My son wants me to get him some sort of the Fortnite extension. Anyway, curried verifier with chain of config and logger. I don't like these test names, by the way. Test verifier with fake logger calls logger. Actually, verifier when passing calls a logger. So now the way this works, we have this. Looks exactly like that one, right? Stub. Mock. Save the value. Okay. Is that readable or too annoying? So we have a curried function here. We're calling verify password curried, and we're calling the curried function here. Readable but annoying, yes. Maybe I should get rid of the comments here. I don't know. Maybe like this. Is that better? Maybe that's better. Okay. So we have this, we have this, we have this, we have the curried function. We're expecting written info. It gets a bit annoying to read, right? That's part of the issue with API chains and faking them in tests. It becomes cumbersome, annoying to read, and hard to maintain. We're literally creating an object that has a, would you say it's a property? That has a property that returns another fake object that has a fake function. In languages like C#, there are a few frameworks that allow this idea of recursive fakes. In one line of code, you can generate an API chain that will be all fake by default. I don't know of such a solution in the JavaScript world. Reviewers. This is the part where I ask the reviewers. Reviewers, do you know Dewe? Do you know of such a thing? Solution by default. Fake it. Easy and substitute come to mind. Yeah. Let's close the Slack thing. So the reason I'm writing these things to reviewers is usually what I'll do is I'll send the chapter over to a bunch of reviewers internally, a bunch of people that I trust. They'll give me their honest feedback, and then I'll send it to basically to Manning for the next review cycle. So I'll do that chapter by chapter. To ease some of the pain and suffering of both the readers and writers of such tests, we can refactor the test to have a helper function that builds the fake API chain, only replacing and allowing to blah 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 blah, and allowing the caller to set their own custom replacement for the logger.info function. The next listing shows this. So here we have a listing refactoring the API chain faker helper, fake API chain helper. Oh no, I do not want to become famous. God damn it! Can I just block? Yes. Let's make that into a listing. Listing 4 point blah blah. And here's my code example. So this is the refactoring. Put that into VS Code. Sorry. Copy with line numbers. Format as code. And copy the file name, because that's life. Okay. Verifier. Man, I should really change the name of that function. Okay. Verifier with a when passes calls the logger correctly. Verifier when passing calls the logger correctly. Again, if anyone has any questions about some of the things that you're seeing here, please let me know. Correctly, and then const fake config equals make config like this. Okay, so we have the fake config function. And then we have the usage of that. So we still have the let written and all that stuff, but this is the entire thing now. Do I even need the extra braces? I don't think I do, right? Technically. Can I remove the unnecessary? Yeah. Okay. That's right. I knew I was right. Okay. Let me save that. Let me commit that. Chapter 4. Cosmetic fixes. Jeez. Cosmetic fixes. Let's push that. In fact, what we can do is we can say we can do this. Okay. So what do we have so far? Let's see. We have refactoring the API chain helper, refactoring to an API chain helper function. Okay. Let's make that a body. Using the make fake config function, we're able to cut down lots of the boilerplate code to create the fake API chain, and we're also gaining some much needed maintainability. Future actually, we're also reducing the future brittleness of the test. When the API chain design is changed later on, we'll likely have to fix only the single helper method. The function is now also shorter and a bit easier to read, but beware. The more generic the function becomes, the more you'll end up pushing it into some other file, some other folder, some other module, some other package, and it'll start becoming more and more of a black box. and people won't bother to understand what it does. Well, end up creating copies of that function, and maintainability plus readability will become an issue again. Function. Okay. The function is now shorter and a bit easier to read, but beware. The more generic, beware. Beware. The more generic, I don't know if that's, I don't know. The more generic the function becomes, the more you'll end up pushing it into some other file, some other folder, some other module, some other package. It'll start becoming more and more of a black box, and it'll evolve into a black box. Black box, and people won't bother to understand what it does. They'll end up creating copies of that function, and maintainability plus readability, maintainability and readability, and finally and eventually maintainability and readability will become an issue again. How can we avoid that? The root cause of this is the design of the API chain. If this is an API that is under your control, you can do something about it. You can simplify the design of the API and start design of the API chain. Did I write about Demeter's law? Demeter. No, I didn't. Let me add Demeter's law here. Demeter's law. Law of Demeter. How many of the readers of the people in the chat know about the law of Demeter? Dimitri, that's what I call that guy. The API chain. It is caused the official term for this the official term for the rule of thumb we're going to use is, how can we explain this? Avoid that. You know what? We need to learn about the law, about Demeter's law. And I'm putting the links here later on. Copyright and all that stuff. Copy editors will help combine all that stuff together into more readable, coherent stuff. How can we avoid that? We need to learn about Demeter's law. The law of Demeter, design guide and developing software. Blah 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 blah. Loose coupling. Demeter's law. And the idea of loose coupling. While this book is not specifically about... אני עדיין, ובבקשה, תן לי עוד חצי שעה, אני בא, אוקיי? אוקיי, 45 דקות. יאללה. Specifically about design, it does... I was just in the brink of achieving something here. Not specifically about design, it does, we do have to touch on it because problematic designs can cause problematic tests. Come on. I know particularly did not know that name. Okay, Demeter's Law. Demeter. So what would be the good definition? I'll just copy this example from Wikipedia. Here's a short excerpt from Wikipedia that kind of explains, that starts explaining this idea. An object A can request a service of an object instance B, but object A should not reach through object B to access yet another object C to request its services. Doing so would mean that object A implicitly requires greater knowledge of object B's internal structure. Okay, so avoiding API chains. We need to learn about Demeter's. We need to learn about Demeter's law, blah blah blah. Practice, this means that we create more abstractions that are simpler instead of one abstraction that is complicated. Which book would be a good book to explain refactoring and breaking law of Demeter? Would the clean code be that? Let's see. Clean code, law of Demeter. Obscuring tricks. What's this? Come on. Don't talk to strangers, only talk to friends. I agree. But that's... I'm wondering if I should use that sentence or not, because it feels like that sentence is trying to be too clever. But I'm not sure. Class, blah, 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 da, 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 da. No. I'm looking for... Is the refactoring book talking about that? I don't remember refactoring. Actually, I think I have the Kindle edition here. The law can be tested simply as use only. Now that's, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. A couple of other ways to explain it. talk to strangers. Don't clock. Only talk to friends. Use only one dot. It's a bit strict, and not always will you have the option to apply this type of design thinking, especially when you end up using, when you end up using a third-party API such as Mongoose or others. In those cases, the advice I can give is to wrap the API in a special adapter class or class object or a bunch of separate and loosely coupled functions that do one thing well. But remove the need for your code to know what is the structure of that third-party API. Yeah, I think I saw this link. I have a problem with Medium articles, though. Unless they're written by people that I actually know. Yeah. Actually, let's do the refactoring in the examples as well. But you know what? Let me just see here. If I go to the library, you can see a bunch of books that my kids read as well. Demeter. Can you search inside books in your Kindle library? No. Refactoring. No. That one I meant. Okay, let's see. What? But I bet it's in the legacy code one. Let's see. Demeter. Yeah, the dot extension is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. But damn it, what? I'm sure there's a book. And I bet it's one of the ones that I know, because that's where I read it first. One of the books that I know talks about the law of Demeter, the refactoring. Was it Clean Code? Was it was it Code Complete? Of course. But what if we refactor that stuff to say, what if we did a third example where we would say verify curried dot two. And here I'll show an example of abstracting that away, because that's what I would do in real life. I would say we don't want the config-fn, we want simply the logger-fn, like this. Actually, it will be the logger. Which would mean, again, going back to a logger. We could also say info, but we want the logger, we want the option, so we can say logger like this. And then it's up to the user of the function to say, where is the logger? So my dilemma right now, the reason I'm thinking very quietly right now is because I'm wondering whether it's a better design to do the curring and then the logger as a separate instance. Okay, so let's say we have